Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Today is day 3 of our 5-day challenge, how to create a sustainable mindfulness practice for your specific needs. I am Sarah, and today's topic is emotions. How do we learn from our emotions? Where do they come from? What do we do with them? And all of that good stuff. So as you log in, please say hello and comment. I really appreciate it. It helps me to reach more people. The more that you like and comment and interact. Hi, Candace, how are you? Please remember to either give StreamYard permission so that I can see your name. So Candace, you must have done that. Or just put your name at the end of the comments so that I can respond to you by name. So just to recap real quick, I am Sarah. I am a traditional Usui Reiki master teacher, a holistic life coach, and a yoga teacher. I've been practicing for 20 years. I've been teaching for 10. Right now, my signature program is my 90-day awakening and empowerment program where you work directly with me. It's a combination of yoga and meditation plus understanding some books, some online modules that go a lot more in depth than what we're covering over this challenge, plus holistic life coaching with me one-on-one, plus as a group. So you really get all the support you need to go forward on this enlightening spiritual journey. Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for joining. How are you? Okay, so that's a little bit about me. To recap the challenge, on day 1, we talked about how to create a practice and how to create time and space for your practice. So we talked about the importance of having sacred space, how to set it up, why it's important because space has memory, why it's important to have the same time every day, and also how to start and begin 7 minutes in 7 days, 14 minutes in 14 days, and then 21 minutes in 21 days, and how to build it up and why that works. And then yesterday we talked about the mind and how the mind works and how the functions of the mind are memory and how that can work in your favor or against you, imagination, and how that can also work in your favor or against you, understanding, which is wonderful because it allows us to learn and to grow and to evolve, and how sometimes the mind misunderstands and misperceives reality and how that comes from our pain body and previous experiences that cloud our judgment, and how oftentimes we kind of get what we expect, right? So today is day 3, and we are talking about emotions. And I gave you a little bit of a high view of what we're going to cover at the very beginning. Tomorrow is going to be... tomorrow's really good. I like tomorrow. Tomorrow is what is the right practice for you, which is like the $1 million question, right? So the way that this challenge works is I want you to be completely empowered with everything that you need to know, I'm giving you the roadmap. I'm giving you the map. Now, oftentimes you have a map and you think you know where you're going, and sometimes you end up going the wrong way because you misread the map. But you will have a map, and so you'll be able to go back to the path and know what to expect and know what you need to be looking for. So tomorrow it's all about that. What are you looking for? How do you know you have the right practice for you, the right teacher for you, etc. And then Friday, it's about obstacles, what to expect, the issues that are going to come up because they are inevitable. Like I said, I've been practicing for 20 years and I'm still going through obstacles that come up every day. And that's really mastery. As long as you are alive and you are on this earth, you're going to have work to do and things to learn and to transform. And once energy is created, it cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. We're going to talk a lot about that today when it comes to emotions, because emotions, that's what emotions are. They're energy. And so on day 5, we're going to talk a lot about what to expect and how to overcome those obstacles, what you need to be looking for in a practice and a teacher and a community that supports you. So as I have said in the past, I value time. My time is precious. I do this challenge 3 times a year. That's it, because it's a lot. It's a labor of love. It's 5 days in a row giving you like minimum and potatoes and really good stuff. It takes a lot of preparation and a lot of, planning and all of that. So I like to use our time wisely. As you have seen, this is not one of those 5-day challenges where it's all a sales pitch all 5 days and you get no knowledge. I'm giving you what you really need to know. And my hope is that you use it wisely. And yes, if you like what I have to offer, please contact us. Lizette and I have opened our calendars for next week to take a couple of more enrollment calls if you're interested in talking with us. And last but not least, before we jump in, don't forget to sign up and reserve your spot for Saturday. 3-hour workshop, how to manifest your heart's desire, live with me. It will not be recorded. I might record it, but just for some students who are currently enrolled in my programs who want to watch it and can't attend, but it won't be released to the public. So if you want to attend that with me, make sure that you catch it. It's only $47, and I don't do those often either, because I like to dedicate my time to those students who are enrolled and working with me, and I'm very focused and I manage my time very wisely. So just real quick, that is all the announcements. And with that, you see, 5 minutes, all the announcements are done. And now let's go grab your workbooks, and let's start at the beginning. So the first thing that we need to understand about emotions is, oh, hold on, sorry, I got distracted by some comments. If you're logging in, say hello. If you have any questions, let me know. Let me just see what someone has to say here. Oh, okay, good question, Kim. So the exercise, so Kim says, I'll show it here. This is really cool. It allows me to see, but then I disappear. Okay, so Kim wants to know how many days we should categorize our thoughts during meditation and how long it usually takes before the mind begins to respond, and what might be the early signs that we should notice that tell us it's beginning to work. So the challenge is designed to give you the roadmap, like I said before. And so yesterday was the only day that I wanted you to do that exercise because it will give you awareness of how to classify the thoughts. Today's exercise will be to sit for 7 minutes and watch your emotions. And that's going to be your homework. And that today will be the only day that you do that. Why do I do it that way? Because those small little bite-sized pieces are going to give you clarity. When you're able to see it for 7 minutes on one day, in the future, when you're going through your regular meditation practice, you will know to expect it. You will recognize it. You will no longer have to label it all the time, but you won't get overwhelmed by it and you won't think that you're doing something wrong because you are now aware of how the mind works. So that can be very empowering, just the awareness and the knowledge of what to expect. Same thing with our emotions and what we're going to talk about today. Today, when you sit, I want you to feel your emotions and we're going to talk about what to do. And it's just that. And I'll tell you why that's important, because a lot of the times the main reason, and you can write this down, I should have a box for this, but I don't have that in my workbook. Put it somewhere on the margin. The main reason that we avoid our practice and that it's difficult to sustain our practice is because when we sit and we do nothing, we have to freaking feel. And a lot of us do not know how to feel. We've never been trained to feel. We spend our life running away from our emotions. And so by sitting and practicing for 7 minutes and allowing yourself to feel, you will kind of just lose that fear and know that feelings are just feelings. So let me know if that answers your question, Kim, because it's not an exercise that I'm going to give you tomorrow when we talk about exactly what is the right practice for you. Then I'm going to give you a couple of techniques that I want you to try, and I want you to use them, and then I'm going to tell you how long to use them for and answer that other question, which is how do you know that they're working and what are the early signs. I actually, Kim, on my Facebook group in the topics tab, it's called Enlightening Lives with Sarah, and that's pun intended because they're live, you get it, and it's enlightening lives. Anyway, I have a video exactly on this. How do you know if we're making progress on a spiritual path? So I'll write a note here to tag you progress video, and I'll tag you on that, and that'll answer that question. I have like hours and hours and hours worth of material in that Facebook group of the topics, and also on my YouTube channel. Okay, so I wanted to answer the questions because this is important, and what I answered to Kim, I'm sure helps everyone, and it leads right into what we have to talk about today. So the first thing is energy creates our thoughts. So yesterday we talked about how thoughts come from the collective consciousness, right? Well, the collective consciousness is alive and it vibrates at a certain frequency. And it's that energy that then creates our thoughts. Now, once energy is created, it cannot be destroyed, it can only be transformed. And your emotions are the compass that tells you what needs to be transformed. I'll say that again because that is super important. I really want you to grasp that. Your emotions are your compass, and they show you what you need to heal. Without your emotions, you would be just a computer and a zombie here, just, going through the motions, going through life, going to work, having a, and you wouldn't feel. And if you don't feel, then you don't know what's wrong, and you wouldn't be able to experience joy, and you wouldn't be able to know that something is wrong. A lot of the times when we begin to look for help in our spiritual path, it's because we're suffering. We are in pain. We are struggling. And how do you know? Because you are experiencing sadness and fear and anxiety and depression and all of these overwhelming emotions that you might not be sure how to manage. And that's a good thing. I know that a lot of the times they don't feel good, but honestly, it wouldn't be normal if they were there. And the problem is that we live in a society, especially in this country, where we don't want to be uncomfortable. And we have, warm leather seats and air conditioner and heat and, comfy beds that are adjustable and whatever. Well, feelings are sometimes uncomfortable. And how many times have you gone through life and there's things that you're not allowed to talk about, or things that you don't say, and you walk around on eggshells, and you go, to a holiday party, and there's things that you're not supposed to talk about or say because they're going to make somebody uncomfortable. And so because we have been trained and conditioned that we're supposed to be happy all the time, like, really? Who the heck came up with that? How is that even reasonable? We're humans, right? But a lot of the times nobody has actually, whenever someone is crying, and even as a little child, we are trained to, oh, here's a lollipop. You don't have to cry. You don't have to feel so bad. Here, heal, feel better, smile, and everything is all right. Or, you get distracted. We have an entire society that keeps us hooked on anything external so that we don't feel what's going on internally. And so whenever you go and sit down for meditation, that's the little time in your day that you actually get to allow yourself to feel. And since you're not used to feeling, and the first feelings that you're going to see are uncomfortable, then you decide that either you're doing something wrong, or that meditation is not a very pleasant experience, because you sit there and now all of a sudden you feel bad. But I got news for you. You were feeling bad all day. You were feeling sad all day. You were feeling nervous all day. It's just when you stop for meditation, it's the very first time that you actually stopped and actually felt what you were feeling. I've had people tell me that when they sit for meditation, they get itchy. And I'm like, itchy? You've probably been itchy all day. It's just you've been disconnected from your body. And when you sit down, that's the only time when you actually can feel the itch. right? And emotions are like that. We spend so much time disconnecting and distracting. And then when we sit for our practice, we all of a sudden are uncomfortable and now we don't like it. And so now our mind makes a million freaking excuses to not practice today or not practice at this time, or I will practice later, or whatever the heck, because you don't want to sit there and feel. And so how do you override that? Well, first of all, you need to see why you're resisting and you're procrastinating and you're avoiding. If you understand that the reason you might be avoiding is because you don't want to feel, then that right there is half the battle, because then you can lose that fear and go sit anyway and allow yourself to feel. You have no idea how many students come to my 90-day program, and for the first week or two, it's like everything comes to a stop. And just because they're working with me and they're plugged into the frequency that I hold, and I'm not afraid to feel and show them and peel away the layers of inner conflict that need to come up, all of a sudden this huge like backlog of emotions that they had been avoiding begins to just bubble up to the surface, and they'll call me. They're like, what's going on? And I'm like, it's okay. It's called unraveling, and I promise you will be all right. And unless you go through that process of letting that backlog of emotions come up to the surface, it doesn't mean that the emotions are not there. They're still under the surface, driving everything that you do in a very unconscious way. And they are keeping you disconnected and in avoidance mode, doing a million things other than sitting to feel. So, when you sit today for 7 minutes as your homework, as your action step, I don't want you to notice your thoughts. I just want you to notice your feelings. Now, a lot of the times what happens, and I like to use my little Post-it notes for this, and I do this with my students all the time. These are your feelings, and these are your thoughts. And your thoughts go around and around and around and around and around and around, and they never stop. And then you're sitting in meditation and you're like, and yesterday I said, okay, recognize it, classify the thoughts: memory, imagination, understanding, misunderstanding, right? But the thoughts are directly linked to the emotions. And a lot of the times what happens, the root cause of this monkey mind spinning around, is that we're not allowing ourselves to feel. So today when you sit down, I want you to actually stop thinking for a second. Don't try to give the emotions a reason or an explanation or rationalize why the emotions are there. I want you to actually just breathe and feel. And if you break down and cry, wonderful, hallelujah, amen, good job. If you sit in meditation today and there's this fear, I want you to taste the fear. It tastes metallic in your mouth. You will feel adrenaline and cortisol literally flowing through your veins. You will have this angst, this like almost shakiness of being unstable or ungrounded or not feeling safe. You will feel it like if you're in danger. That's all it is. It's fear. And this is one of the things that I like to tell students. Instead of saying, for example, I'm depressed, you could say, I have sadness flowing through me. So then your sense of your identity is not attached to your sadness. Your sense of identity is your spirit. You realize you are not your body. You are not your mind. And your emotions are flowing through you. And from your emotions, you can learn what's wrong. Because oftentimes that sadness is coming from what we talked about a few days ago, which was, what is it that you're doing that you don't want to be doing? And what is that you're not doing that you want to be doing? And so when you feel that sadness, it's coming from one of those places. And so then what happens is the mind begins to go around in circles and say, well, this is why I can't do it, and this is why I can't do it, and I can't do it because of this, and I can't do it because of that, and I cannot blah, 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 blah. And you're not even freaking acknowledging the sadness that it causes you to not do what you know in your heart you should be doing, or the resentment that is there because you keep doing things that you know are not good for you and you shouldn't be doing, and your codependent people, places, things at work and at home, and all of this nonsense. The sadness is there. The sadness is real. It needs to be felt. It is, like I said before, a compass showing you what needs to be healed and what needs to come up to the surface, but it is not you. Same thing with fear. I have anxiety. I'm an anxious person, and I go from doctor to doctor on medication and all of this and all of that. Listen, just for the record, once a problem has manifested at the physical level or at the mental level, you need to work with that problem at that level. So if you need medication, you need medication. If you need psychology or psychiatry to help you create stability and cope with what's going on, please, please, please follow your doctor's guidance and do all of that. But also, so it's not one or the other. Is that plus this? Is that plus really getting to the root cause and observing without aversion? Because a lot of the times, what? You don't want to be the depressed person, so you don't admit that you're depressed. I did that for freaking years. Like, you would just walk around, go through the motions like a zombie, and everything is fine, and you're supposed to be so grateful, and you have all of these blessings, and how dare you feel sad because, you know, there's people in the world starving or whatever. And so then you don't acknowledge, I mean, I chuckle, but it's an ironic, funny chuckle. Anyway, it's just these people don't know me, then they might just take that the wrong way. I'm chuckling at people starving in the world. I'm saying how crazy it is to attach the logic to that. That's what I'm saying. And how so many times we go through the day in denial of what we're feeling because we think we're a bad person if we feel that way. A lot of times when I work with students, they'll say, this is going to sound horrible. And I'm like, do not use those, because there is no horrible. It is or it isn't. And it is what it is. And the minute that you preface it by saying, this is going to sound horrible and I'm a bad person for saying this, now you're not even validating your own emotions without a place of judgment. So first, do not judge what you feel. Just allow yourself to feel. Do not be afraid of what you feel. Because listen, you're going to feel it anyway. It's there already. Okay? So you're afraid of what you feel, and so you're not going to let yourself feel, like if that's going to help the problem because you're afraid to actually feel. How silly is that? And a lot of the times, and I see this in my students all the time, and so many times, one of the things that usually, I just did a testimonial with somebody yesterday who said, you know, the most valuable thing that I learned from this 90-day program was being able to see my emotions and realize that they will pass, and allow myself to feel them honestly and wholeheartedly. Because from there, you can make decisions from a place of clarity instead of from an emotional place, which is never going to be good. Okay? So allowing yourself to feel without fear, allowing yourself to feel and not disconnect, and not go to the phone, and not read a million books so that you don't feel, and not keep yourself busy, or asleep all the time because you don't want to feel. And don't deny that this is how you feel, and then you actually have a chance. Honestly, if you learn nothing else from these 5 days together, allowing yourself to feel honestly and truthfully will set you free. Now, it's easier said than done. I'm not saying that it's an easy thing to do. The truth of the matter is, it's a lot easier once you have a strong foundation of what true unconditional love is for yourself and for others. And the problem is, a lot of the times we've never experienced that before. So, you know, why can I feel so deeply now? Because for 12 years, I've had a teacher who acted as a sacred mirror, and every time, every layer of dysfunction and every negative feeling that I had, I would present it, and she would look at it without judgment and with complete unconditional love and compassion. It's from that place that I can then be a neutral teacher for my students without getting caught up into their emotions and their drama. That's another thing somebody said to me the other day. It's like, you know, what's interesting about you is you have compassion, you have empathy, but you don't come down to the pit with me. And I don't. And it's not because I can't relate, it's because it's not helpful. And a lot of the times, here's another tip. Another of the times, that is the best thing that you could actually do for someone who is suffering and is going through a difficult time in life. Witness, listen, observe, and do not try and fix it, because sometimes it can't be fixed. And do not try to like validate it either, especially if it's a little bit irrational. And by doing that and holding a neutral space, still acknowledging where they are without going down to their level and without just dismissing their feelings either, you are actually helping more than if you do any of the other things that humans usually do, which are oftentimes fake. They don't even mean it. They're just, this is what they think they are supposed to say. And so that's what they say. Okay, so emotions are a compass. Once energy is created, it cannot be destroyed. The only way that it can be transformed is through the power of consciousness. And this is why it's so important that you allow yourself to feel. You need to let the emotions flow through you, as opposed to attaching your sense of identity to the emotions. You need to let yourself feel without aversion, without denial, without disconnection. One of the main reasons that your mind resists your practice is because it doesn't want to feel, and it feels uncomfortable when you finally sit for meditation. But if you know to expect that, and you allow yourself to feel, and you don't judge it as good, bad, or otherwise, then you could actually sit in meditation and you don't just come up with a million other things to do, like Candace says, other than sitting in meditation, because you don't want to feel. So you know what to expect then, and then you don't have to be afraid of your feelings. And so when we know this, we are prepared for what's coming. And that clarity is half the battle right there, if not the whole battle. That clarity of knowing that it's not wrong and that it's actually good to break down. You have no idea how many times I encourage my students to break down and just let it all out if it has to go out. The other day, this was really cute. I was walking in the pond, and I've been telling this story in the last few days because to me it was so interesting. I was walking around my little pond that I go with every day, and I fall flat on the ice. And I tried to get up, and I fall again. And I finally managed to get up, finish my lap. Then the next day, I'm at the pond, and these little kids on sneakers, not on ice skates, but on like sneakers, are on the frozen lake just gliding. And I'm like, I can't make it through the lap without falling flat on my butt. And these kids are purposely going onto the frozen lake to glide. And I'm watching them and I'm observing. I'm like, what is it that they're doing that I don't do? And they're not holding on. They are just gliding. They're like little, what are those, like little springs, right? And they just kind of bounce and come back to center and bounce and come back to center. Where I go on the ice and I'm like, oh, and I'm trying to hold tight and I'm trying to not fall because I'm so freaking afraid to fall, right? That's what we do with our emotions. And we spend so much time holding ourselves like this, trying not to feel. And I got news for you. You do that, you're going to fall flat like I did. Because there's no way that you can hold all of those emotions and pretend that they're not there when they're still driving your life. And so sometimes it's good to have a good cry and let yourself feel. And the more that you let it out with the power of consciousness. So there's a difference though. There's a difference between allowing yourself. So let's be careful here. One of the good things about having a teacher is that I know the pitfalls ahead, right? So I'm giving you a roadmap, but I still value what I do, and working with me one-on-one, there's nothing that can replace that because I know the way ahead. So let me give you just a little warning while we're here. So one of the things that sometimes we do is we are addicted to pain. And we are addicted to fear, and we are addicted to sadness, and we are addicted to negative feelings. And you might be saying, no, I'm not. Oh, yeah? Try and quit. And then you tell me if you're addicted or not. And you will see that even though, and this is one of the root causes of self-sabotage, is like we think we want happiness. We think we want to be at a certain vibration, a certain paradigm. Sometimes we don't want to take the responsibility to do what it will take to actually be there. But sometimes we just are addicted to where we are, even if it's negative. And so every time that we make a little progress and it feels good, we're uncomfortable, and we do something that will bring us right back down to a place that we know. And we like the pain, and we like to cry, and we like to just feel like victims, and we like to be stressed all the time because then it gives you something to do. You need to be very mindful that when you allow yourself to feel, you don't freaking get stuck over there. That's not the goal. Be very, very mindful. You need to have enough consciousness to see the feelings flow through you until they pass, but not get hooked in them and not get into this pattern of, making yourself cry and making yourself feel bad again and again and again. And so in order to do that, you need to have enough consciousness and enough detachment to see clearly. And this is why a mindfulness practice is helpful. Because a mindfulness practice will train you to see clearly what's going on internally and externally. And from that place of clarity, you could actually allow yourself to feel fully without getting caught up in there. So be very, very careful. And this is a very mindful warning that as you go and feel, you still need to remain. It's called, somebody called it, one of these books, I forget what it was. It was the witness, the seat of consciousness is what it was. You still have to remain in your seat of consciousness, realizing that you are not your emotions. Do not use this exercise to get all caught up in your emotions just because you're addicted to negative emotions. And if you don't think you are, again, I dare you to try and quit. And you will see how sooner or later you begin to relive it. And that goes back to the pain body, which I mentioned a little while back, which is sometimes what happens is because of trauma and drama, oftentimes from our childhood, we associate negative feelings with love. So for example, if you grew up with a controlling mother or controlling father, and you have this fear in you, and you're constantly walking on eggshells all the time because you don't want to get anybody mad, but they were your parents, they were supposed to love you, and so that must be love, right? Being controlled must be love. That's what love feels like. That's what it tastes like. It has this fear to it. It has this walking on eggshell feelings to it, and that is love. And so then what do? We go find partners that are just like that. And same thing with codependence on alcohol or drugs or whatever. Maybe we have somebody who did substance abuse in our home, and we think that taking care of that person all the time and covering up for them and making things up for them, whatever it is love. Then we go recreate that. So when I say to you, you might be addicted to negative emotions, such as walking on eggshells, or such as feeling like a victim, always having to take care of somebody else. And you say, no, I want peace. I want, enlightenment. I want joy. I want contentment. And I said, yes, I understand. But you might not realize what true love is and what it really feels like. And so because you don't have that point of reference, you go and feel, and negative emotions to you might taste like love. And so even though you don't think you're addicted, in a way you are, it's just a never-ending cycle. And listen, how do I know? Been there, done that. All of the above and everything that I just mentioned, they are, my own personal examples in a way, and just things that I've seen as we go through so many years of teaching. And that's, again, why a community, a teacher, and a practice are important, because they give you a different point of reference, a new paradigm of understanding, a new point of view that you might have, because you only see things from where you are. And that's not personal, that's just human life. We don't have, it's like, I don't have any other eyes. These are the only eyes that I know how to see from. And so I'm going to perceive reality from in here. And the only reason that I have been able to heal so much is because I had somebody show me reality from a different perspective. And that is honestly most of what I do with my students. I literally just open their eyes. I had somebody call me this morning because I do this thing. It's called Voxer. So when you sign up for the 90-day program, if we're working one-on-one, you get access to me through this app that's called Voxer, and it's voicemail and text message and like instant. So I'm literally like in your pocket, and everything that happens after a coaching session, people call me back and they say, oh my goodness, I had this experience. I don't know what you did. It's just like something clicked. And it's not that they didn't know, and maybe they had even read it in a book, but there is a transmission that happens from teacher to student, like you're receiving right now, even if you might not know me, that is precious and that cannot be replaced by knowledge, because it's an energy download and kind of like an energy uplift, right? And a lot of the times, you might see videos, and you might see my videos even, but trust me, the minute that there's a student-teacher connection, now those videos actually go in at a different level, because there's a spiritual uplifting that's going on. And it doesn't have to be me. It can be any other spiritual teacher that you're comfortable with, and we'll talk about that on day 5, about what to look for and what to watch out for, okay? But you do need someone, just like a little kid needs somebody who can a kid teach themselves how to read by themselves? Like, they can look at the letters and they can't. Somebody has to have like an energy transmission that's teaching them the language, right? It's kind of like that. And so you need a different point of reference, because you might be addicted to negative things because that's all you know, negative emotions, and that's all you know. And you don't have a point of reference of what true, positive, unconditional love and compassion feels like or tastes like. Okay, let's see. Any more comments? Say hello, put a little emoji below and wave, and let me know if any of this is resonating with you. I think I have 2 more points to make that are absolutely precious. And then, yeah, okay. So, how do you actually do this, right? And how do you stick to your practice despite the emotions that are going to come up? Number 1, you need to make a commitment to your spirit. A lot of the times people will say to me, like, how do I have the discipline to stick with my practice? And the simple answer to this is, first, you have to know the matrix, how the mind works, how emotions work, so you know what to expect, so you're not afraid to face whatever is going to come up. But the word discipline might not be the most accurate word, because the truth of the matter is your practice should be coming from a place of love and devotion. Write this down on the margin somewhere as well. The way to stick with your practice is to come from a place of love and devotion. So the number 1 reason that we avoid our practice is because we don't want to feel. And the best way to stick with your practice is to come from a place of love and devotion, and not forcing yourself to be quote unquote disciplined. Let me know if that makes sense. Because a lot of the times we are forcing ourselves to do the practice, and then we feel guilty if we don't do the practice. How the heck does that help? How on earth is it good to feel guilty that you didn't do your practice? You didn't do your practice. You didn't do your practice. Can you love yourself enough to go do your practice? That's it. There's no need to feel guilty and beat yourself up over the fact that you missed your practice today. Can you do it later? Can you love yourself enough to go try? right? So your practice needs to come from a place of love and devotion. And the second thing is you need to make a commitment to your spirit. So you need to sit down and say, you know, I make these commitments to everyone else. I'm sure if you have a doctor's appointment, you show up. If you have to be at work, you show up. If you tell your kids you're going to pick them up from school, you show up. Even if you have, you know, date night with the husband and you were supposed to, or with your partner or whatever, and you were supposed to be there at a certain time, you show up. Why can't you show up for yourself and that commitment that you make for yourself? Because you haven't made a commitment. You leave yourself last after giving to everything and everybody else, and you don't take the time to actually sit down with yourself and say, I am a spirit on earth. I am the most important thing in my life. My spiritual practice and my daily mindfulness practice is my anchor that allows me to check in with my spirit. A teacher I had, actually my Kundalini teacher, said to me, it's like having a date with yourself every day. That's what your mindfulness practice, a date with your spirit every day. It's you can either wake up and go through your day unmindfully, just checking things off your to-do list, or you can make a date with yourself in the morning, check in spiritually, connect to your soul, to your heart, to the divine energy that gives us life. And from there, go live your day from a mindful, loving place. If you come from that place, if it's not something that you have to force yourself to do and you feel guilty if you don't do you see how it would be a little bit easier to stick to your practice? The problem is we don't always have that kind of love for ourselves. We don't put ourselves as a priority. That's the number one excuse that I call it an excuse because that's what it is. When people come to me and they're like, you know, should I do this? Should I not do this? You know, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. And I'm like, well, you seem to have money and time for so many other things, right? And for so many other people. And yet they can't always do it for themselves because honestly, especially as women in this society, we are not, we're not taught to do this. And even when we do it, we have to find some rational justification as of why it's okay and necessary. It's not something that we're used to thinking about, investing on time, money, or otherwise, ourselves, our spirit. It's something that's supposed to, I don't even know if somebody can tell me what it's supposed to be. It's like the last thing on earth that people are concerned about. They have so many other priorities before they make themselves and their spirit a priority. Like, seriously? No wonder you're suffering. Do you see the root of the problem there, right? So you have to come from that place of love in order to really sustain your mindfulness practice. It has to become a priority in your life. It has to matter more than anything and everything else that you have to do on your day, not because of obligation, but because it is just what you do. And it's the most important thing in your life and in your day. So that is, and then your practice is effortless. If you come from that place, this is easy. This is not complicated or hard at all. If you understand how the mind works, you understand how your emotions work, you're not afraid to feel, and you come from a place of love, that's it. It's not difficult at all. Your mindfulness practice and sustaining it is effortless. And so that's my message for today. What are my reminders? Let's see. Make sure that you sign up for the workshop on Saturday. There's only 3 spots left. So if you want to sign up, you probably want to reserve your spot today. It's only $47. If you want to schedule a call with me and my enrollment team, Lizette and I have a couple of extra spots next week to take calls if you're interested in our program to learn more and tell you exactly how it all works and give you some insight. Those calls are very, very enlightening. Whether you sign up to work with us or not, you will gain a lot of clarity from those calls. So take advantage of that. And that's it. Say goodbye as you log off and do a little high five, or a little heart, a little emoji or happy face if you liked what you heard today. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to contact me, send me messages with any questions. Have a blessed day. Namaste.